it is time for day 5 of the reading competency 4. Good morning, it is time for day 5 of the reading competency 4. It is day to wear our school shirts. So I'm wearing my son's shirt from when he was in my school and they went to the New York trip that year. He was in 8th grade. So here we go. All right, that's a wrap for day 5 of the reading competency 4 undifferentiated instruction. I'm going to lower the AC because I feel like it's blasting. But anyway, I wanted to quickly talk about what we went over today. And there's something that I've been meaning to do since I started doing this video series on this class, was show you my notes that I'm taking on GoodNotes. I created my own notebook. GoodNotes lets you do that. You can just hit the plus sign, you can customize the cover and select the type of pages you want in your notebook. So that's what I've been doing. And the cool thing about GoodNotes is that I can take pictures, insert the pictures into the actual notebook, and also insert PDFs of the different documents that we've been going over in class and just put them all in there, including slides from the PowerPoint presentation because the presenter gave us the PDF version of her slideshow. We've been doing a couple of activities every day. Today we were doing different things. The last thing that we ended up doing was an All About Me paper where we drew our personal learner profiles. We ended up taking 3 different quizzes to kind of learn a little bit about ourselves and how we learn best and what we're interested in, which is something that we can do with our students as well, especially at the beginning of the year. And she's having us create a visual illustration about that she's going to post in the classroom. I took mine home because I just pencil drew what I wanted it to look like, and now I want to take it home to color it and have it all be done and ready. She's going to post them up tomorrow. But let me first start with the notebook. I'm just going to scroll through some of the pages really quickly. If you have any questions about what I learned in the class, anything that jumps out at you that I didn't specifically go over, you can go ahead and leave me a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer your question. So here we go. All right, not sure which is the best way to do this because I'm in my car right now before I go home and I had to put it in an angle where I don't get reflection. But basically, this is the cover that I chose for this notebook, and now I'm going to show you some of my notes from the class. One of the first things that we did on the first day as an icebreaker, get to know you activity, is we created bio poems. And I showed you a video clip of mine, and this is the picture of the one that I created. This is such an easy way to get to know your students and also introduce them to the rest of the class. So great way to build community and great activity for back to school. We then took an anticipation guide quiz on what we thought about differentiated instruction. She just showed us some of the questions on the board, and then we just wrote true or false based on it. And then on the last day, we'll do the after column. We watched an extra normal video that was a little bit funny on DI, and this is a chart on the principles of effective teaching that is from this book that we're reading in class by Carol Ann Tomlinson. We have been going over this structure for differentiation every single day. We got to the last one today, and tomorrow we'll be talking more about the next chapters from the book, but that's basically what we've been doing. We also watched this video as an introduction to this and how the teacher in the book The Dot differentiates instruction for Vashti. All right, so now I'm just going to scroll through some of these pages. We were talking about what is differentiated instruction. We talked in our table groups and discussed it, and then we added as we presented. Is differentiated instruction the same as individualized instruction? We actually learned that it is not the same as individualized instruction. Why is differentiated instruction important? And how does differentiated instruction help us meet the needs of all students? Then we created a chart, which is what it is and what it isn't. And every single group created one of those posters that you see there, an anchor chart. Then we kept going. I'm just going to keep scrolling through. We read an article about the key elements of differentiated instruction. And we talked about progressive versus traditional teaching. So that was really interesting. We got Post-its and we added it to the posters that corresponded to both. And we read another article where we're learning about different types of learners, and my group happened to do the advanced learners, which I then created the digital graphic that I did post on my Instagram, so that was pretty cool. Day 2, we did an icebreaker with toilet paper. Basically, they told us to pick as much toilet paper as we thought we would use or whatever, and on every square we had to write a fact about ourselves, and that's what we used to introduce ourselves or learn a little bit more about ourselves. We talked about respectful tasks. Just going to keep going, and again, if you have questions you can just ask me. Then we went over the fact that when you create a differentiated instruction lesson, it's like planning for a dinner party, because you have to take into consideration who are going to be your guests and what special restrictions they have and all that stuff. So then we decided to do a glow party, and that's how we were differentiating for our guests. So we had to create a menu, entertainment, desserts, cocktails, the environment, and talk about that. And then we went ahead and we transferred it over to actually creating activities that are differentiated for our students. So we talked about menus and choice boards. So we read all about this and we created our menu. So this is a menu that we created for main idea and vocabulary. We also talked about what it means to teach up, which is the mindset and general principle number 3. And we talked about choice boards or tic-tac-toe board. And we created this in our group, which is a tic-tac-toe board that can be used practically with almost any text. So that's the one that I also showed in my Instagram. And we keep going here. Let me see what else. All right, so day 3, everybody got a name and they had to put it together with the partner. So that was a little icebreaker that we had. And we talked about different ways to assess. Why do we assess? How do we assess? When do you assess? And what do you assess? And we read an article about grading for success, which was pretty interesting. It was by Carol Ann Tomlinson herself. So then we talked about it, and we talked about the takeaways from the article and the struggles that we might have. And then as a group, we created either a PowerPoint, brochure, or commercial about the information that we learned from the article, and then we shared it with the class. So our group created a PowerPoint about grades, and our audience was students, because we wanted our students to know more about grades and where their grades come from and what do they represent. And we did an icebreaker, which is search and sign. It was a great conversation starter. And then we started talking about building classroom community. So we went over different strategies, partner introductions, the bucket filling activity, and then they had us actually create envelopes that we decorated with our names, and we each gave each other some positive notes in our envelopes, and our facilitator or teacher put them up in the classroom and told us that we can keep adding to each other's. There's a class reward system idea, there's a daily character journal, and there's a 3-to-1 challenge, which is 3 genuine compliments, 2 introduce yourself to 2 new people, and 1 random act of kindness that you want to encourage the students to either do it on a daily or a weekly basis. And then we talked about different ways that we build community in our classroom. So this is kind of like the list that we came up with as we were sharing. So then in the afternoon of that day 3, we read a chapter and submitted an answer to a question on a Google form. Day 4, our icebreaker, we were given a piece of pipe cleaner and we had to work as a group to turn it into a star, and then the teacher put all of the stars together. That was really cute, and that's what we worked on in Tomlinson's framework for that day. And again, everything focuses on content, process, and product. And on this particular day, which was yesterday, we went over what each of those were. So what is content, examples of content. This is what they recommend that we do DI in our district, 45 to 60 minutes in the reading block. For DI, in reading we have 120 minutes, but that includes our 30 minutes of writing, which is non-negotiable. So we actually have 90 minutes in the writing block. So that means that about 30 minutes is for whole group instruction, and then the rest should be for DI or rotations in groups, etc. And then we talked about having the students think of a positive mindset. So if they say this, some teachers have them say this positive one instead. So that was pretty cool. We went over process and what it was and some examples of process. And we talked about the raft assignment, which is the one that we worked on and we created. These are examples of how you can differentiate process. So you can actually have the students maybe change the role, or they can change the audience they're writing to, or they can change the format or the topic. In our case, we actually changed the topic. So we were asked to create a raft on any topic we wanted, and I created one on something I did during my summer vacation, and I wrote about my fun time in Austin, Texas this summer. And I plan on showing this to my students when they go to create their summer short story at the beginning of the year. And then we talked about product and how we differentiate products. So we were talking about the different type of products based on the different learning styles, and we talked about how we apply that. Let me just keep scrolling. We talked about differentiating affect. We talked about how we can differentiate the environment, and then we were asked as a group to create an anchor chart about what the ideal learning environment would be, and that's where my octopus plays in. So this is the one where we drew the octopus, and all of these words on the tentacles are what our team came up with as the ideal classroom environment. And the octopus name is Miss Optimal, optimal classroom environment. And these are the other creations that the other teams made. I really love that one too, with the dab. This one is cute. It's a little schoolhouse, and that's an actual classroom layout. So that was really neat. It's always fun to see what all the groups come up with. All right, so then this morning we did an icebreaker called Bricks and Bridges, where we were talking about what would be some of the struggles. So the bricks were the struggles of implementing DI, and the bridges that can help us, overcome those struggles. So then our team created this actual representation. So this was the concept that one of my team members kind of thought of, and I just drew it after she showed me her drawing. And this is the final product that we created. So this is the bridge that goes over the bricks that are the struggles, and these can help us implement DI easily. And the other teams also did a great job with their creations, which I don't have in my Good Notes notebook right now, but maybe I'll include them at some point later in the video. All right, so the next thing that we did, we were looking at readiness and interest and learning profiles. So that's when we started going into learning more about the different kinds of learners. And after we did that, we actually created like a PowerPoint slide. Every team created one on the different learner profiles. We have the advanced learners, the struggling learners, the learners that are stuck in the middle, and the ELL learners. So we shared those out, and then the rest of the afternoon dealt with the interest. So we did some interest surveys. This is the interest survey that we did, and after we did that, we had to tally it all up and decide what our top 3 interest areas were. These are mine. And then we did a learning style inventory. So this one I'm just going to scroll through because it's 24 questions, and we had to rank them by 5, 3, or 1. And then depending on the question, we tallied up those numbers. So I'm more of a visual learner, and then my second best way to learn is tactile, and the least is auditory. But it's really interesting learning more about yourself this way, and you could do something similar with your students. And we were learning about the different characteristics of those learning styles. What does a visual learner like? Auditory and kinesthetic. Then we went ahead and did a multiple intelligence survey, and we had to just put a 1 next to the ones that we could identify with, and then total all the numbers. And then at the end, we multiply that number by 10, and then we graphed it. I went ahead and added these labels right here. So I'm more existential, visual, and intrapersonal, because I scored 100 in all 3 of those. Then followed by musical and then verbal. So that was really, really cool. And then we kept going over these things. So the last thing was this actual representation of me, a visual representation of me as a learner. So this is the one that I drew in class right now. This is all about me. My learning style is visual. My multiple intelligences are those, and these are my interests. So I'm going to now color this paper and bring it back tomorrow so the teacher can put it up in the classroom. So sorry for the lengthy explanation of all that, but I just wanted to make sure I went over that because I've been meaning to do it and I haven't. But that was really cool. I've been really enjoying all of the activities and the learning that has been going on in the classroom. So we have 2 more days to go, tomorrow and Friday, and then I'll be done with this class. I have so many tools. I mean, between this class, between attending the Educators to Educators conference, the virtual one that was last week, and then going to Teachers Pay Teachers, which even though that's more for my Teachers Pay Teachers store, there's still things that I learned there that I can apply to my classroom, especially when it comes to the part of the culturally responsive education. I also took away so many great ideas from Get Your Teach On, which I have all the vlogs up in my channel by the time you are watching this. So check out how my experience was for that. And then I started the summer at ISTE, where I got more information on technology and ways that I can implement different tools in my classroom. So I am really excited for this coming school year, and also for sharing all of these ideas and information, not just with you all, but with the teachers at my school as well. All right, so I'm gonna get going home, and then I'll see you tomorrow for day 6. Hello dreamers, wishers, and magical thinkers. Thank you so much for making it to the very end of this video and for showing your support. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do so by clicking on my picture down here. You can also check out my latest videos here and here. Don't forget to believe in the magic that's inside you, because you are capable of great things. See you next time.